So first of all, welcome to International Coffee Hour and also the programs of the CGE. CGE is a short for Center for Global Engagement. So it's still in the building of the globe, but they are currently not fully shutting off, but we still encouraging us using the virtual reaching out ways to reach out to us. And I want to briefly talk about the mission and vision of CGE. So in general, if you understand this based on the words, it's mainly to promote intercultural communication. And this is two ways of interactions. One is from the domestic to the international, and the other way is vice versa. So it's not just for it's for both the domestic student staff and faculty members to reach out to the international environment and knowing more about the culture from all over the world. And it's also a way for international students to really know more about the local customs, histories, and the culture, and etc. So that is the main goal of us, and that's what drives us to do everything around it and dedicating to do it. So we have a lot of programs and services. I believe everyone knows about immigration services that we're still dedicating to provide a different kind of services to our international students. And also we have other programs such as global exchanges, global citizenship certificate, and also our intercultural programs. So for all of those information, feel free to reach out to us if you're interested in, but I'm gonna just concentrate on the intercultural programs, which is we are currently right now here. So I want to introduce that we do have weekly, excuse me, we do have weekly programs happening in the intercultural programs. First is that every Monday we will have a virtual meditation Monday. If you want to register for the event, you can scan the QR code. It will happen at every Monday between 12 to 12:30, 8 p.m. So you will be having a guided 20 minutes meditation. So the original thoughts for this program is that we thought at this special time, it's very important for us to settle down, focus ourselves, and have off to a good start of 1 week. So that's why we hold this event. And then you will be there and having some intercultural communications if you wanna. And the second of all is our virtual English conversation club. Also, you can register throughout the QR code. So it's happening, we actually have 7 sessions open. Normally it's on the weekdays, it's from every Monday to Friday at afternoon 4 to 5 p.m. Also in the morning of Tuesday and Thursday between 9 to 10 a.m. So the morning session on one side is we really wanted to open the accessibility to the students who cannot be physically in the US and in the different time zones. So if you know this, if you know anyone who needs this, just feel free to tell them and register through the link. And we also have our international coffee hours, which is what we're having right now. Why? Okay, there we go. And so as you can see that our poster is Chef Jessie wearing an official mask. That is our signature event. Back to in person, if you weren't there before the pandemic, it was a huge event. Every Friday we have around 200 people coming in, and Chef Jessie and our co-host student organizations will cook us very delicious sampler food from different cultures and backgrounds. So it's super fun. And then you can make friends from all over the world. So just keep in mind that we're still recruiting the co-host for our coffee hour. So if you're interested, even though you're not a student organization, you're just individual that who are interested in doing a presentation 5 to 10 minutes and wanted to introduce your culture, your favorite food to us, feel free to reach out to me. I'm here for you. And lastly, I want to say that we still have other kind of programs, but like beyond borders, but at these special times, things could change every second. Just reach out to us if you need to know more information about it. You can reach Laura Dean, which lmdean@fsu.edu, or Young Lee at young.li@fsu.edu. We are here for you. Anyways, then we're transitioning to our second part. So I guess Chef Jessie is ready already, but I'm just gonna say that Chef Jessie's cooking show is around 20 minutes. So Chef Jessie will cook a dish for you all and demonstrating the whole session. If you're interested, you can follow the steps. You can follow, I assure you. And today, Chef Jessie is gonna bring us Serbian apple pie. My apologies. And let me go ahead, spotlight him.
All right. Hey, everyone. Hey, Yang. Thanks for the intro. Oh, so welcome to Coffee Hour, everyone. Sorry, I was waiting for Yang to talk to me. I didn't know she got cut off there. But yeah, welcome back to the Globe Kitchen here. We continue with our virtual coffee hour. And today we've got a really delicious dessert. It's called Pita sa Jabukama, and that's a Serbian name for apple pie, or I guess what translates to apple pie in English. It's a regional dish though for Eastern Europe, Northern Italy, Hungary, Austria. I think it's Austrian, one of their like national desserts. It's also really popular in Germany, and in Germany and Austria, it's apple strudel. Okay, so definitely different than American apple pie. The dough we're going to use today, it's a phyllo dough, and phyllo dough is a great flaky pastry. You can pick it up in Publix in the freezer section, and it's really good for making savory and sweet pastries. Today, obviously, it's going to be sweet, but it's featured in a lot of Greek food, Turkish food, and different pastries and desserts. Next for our ingredients, this is a Granny Smith apple, and this is a sour apple. We're going to go more into kind of some apple stuff later, but you're going to need 2 pounds of apples. It's about like 4 to 5 apples, basically, depending on how big they are. We got 1 cup of sugar. And then this is the 3 other apples that I shredded earlier today. So that's just kind of pre-prepped here. I've got some ground cinnamon and some plain breadcrumbs, unsalted, unsweetened, no seasoning, just plain breadcrumbs. You can dry bread and grind it yourself if you want. I got this from Publix too. I think it's like some 4C brand or something. It's pretty inexpensive, just ground breadcrumbs. And then I've got a 1/4 cup of oil and a 1/4 cup of water mixed together and then boiled pretty quickly. It kind of helps emulsify it a little bit so it's mixed together, the boiling. Other than that, I've also got a little bit of powdered sugar for a garnish here. And then tools wise, you're going to need a box grater or some kind of way to grate the apple, peeler, and some kind of pastry brush. This is a silicone one, but you could also use a natural fiber brush would work too. So let's get into this technique here. This is a great dish. We've served it at our coffee hour years ago. I've had a couple of different Serbian colleagues and a few Serbian students on campus. There's really not too many, but every time they wanted to do a coffee hour, this is what they wanted to serve. And so apples are pretty important to the Serbian economy. I know that they grow a lot and they actually export a lot of apples, and they have many different varieties that they grow there. For us in the States, we don't really have so many varieties, especially down here, to choose from. There are a lot of commercial varieties, and most of the apples on the market are for fresh eating. And for a really good apple pie, you want a apple that's sour and soft, and that's more for like cooking an apple pie. And so the Granny Smith is kind of the best thing we have on the market here. There's also like a Macintosh apple that can be pretty good as well. And you can combine apples and mix them together, but we'll get into that in a little bit here. So we're gonna bake this, so we're gonna need some type of pan. You could use a sheet pan like this. It's gotta have some kind of lip on it. If you have a glass Pyrex pan, 13 by 9 inch, that works well too. And basically, we're just going to oil this, and we'll just do this first and get it out of the way. We're going to oil the bottom of the pan so that once we get our pastries formed, we can just wrap them and put them right on top and get it ready. The oven, you're going to want to get to 350 degrees and have that nice and preheated. If you buy your pastry ahead of time, you're going to want to get it a couple days ahead, actually, because it is frozen. And phyllo is just so temperamental. You want to thaw it really gently from the freezer in the refrigerator for 24 hours. And then because it's all rolled up in here, and to unroll it and have it not fall apart, you need to let it sit in the refrigerator for 24 hours. So this isn't the kind of thing that you want to just buy and then make right away. You got to pre-plan a little bit. All right, so for the apple, we're going to need to peel it. And so peeler's good. All the YouTube videos that I watched, they use little paring knives, and while that works pretty well, if you don't move correctly with it, you'll easily jab it into your hand, and the peeler is very much more safe. So I'm going to go with the peeler. All right, so apples are one of the oldest domesticated fruits that we have. It's estimated that it was started being cultivated by humans 4,000 to 10,000 years ago. And they were originally growing wild in mountains, I think in what's now is known as Kazakhstan, in that general area. And so it was Central Asia. And then they were transported on the Silk Road to Europe. And then in Europe, they were hybridized and combined with crab apple varieties from Serbia to create new varieties that were developed there for hundreds and hundreds of years. And so now the apples that we have, like Granny Smith, these new varieties that we have been hybridized and developed fairly recently. So all the old heirloom apples are going to be really hard to come by. You'd really have to live in an apple growing region with old orchards, or even back in Kazakhstan, there's the wild apples still grow there. So you can go there and check that out. But I want to show you all this right here. This is an apple print of a system of apple cataloging from a German encyclopedia in like 1893. And this is just a print that I have just because I like weird fruit stuff like this. I'm kind of a food geek if you didn't figure that out. And so you can see here, this is the cataloging system for apples where they would use the blossom and what the blossom end of the apples look like in a way to group them together into types and stuff. And it's all in German, but obviously none of these apples are ones that we would have here. But it'd be really interesting to see if any of these varieties were actually still grown in Germany or that region of the world. But yeah, I think overall there's over 7,500 different identified varieties of apples in the world. And so it's considered like the king of fruits. I mean, it's just been around for so long and it's been so important to trade, through the ages. This is a really classic dessert, and it's a comfort food. Like people have been making this for, hundreds and hundreds of years. And so one cool thing about it is that it's really easy to make, especially since we can get phyllo dough from the freezer now. People used to have to make this by hand, which was much, much harder. All right, so I already grated up 3 of my apples, and I did add a little bit of vinegar to it so they didn't turn too dark brown. That's one thing that happens is the flesh oxidizes pretty quickly and it'll turn dark brown. If you let this sit overnight, it'll really get really brown. So if you add a little bit of vinegar, you don't want to add too much. It'll help hold that off for a little bit. So all right, let's just grate this last bit here. Right. So at any point, if you're new to Coffee Hour, if you have a question, you can chat with Yang and ask her any question that you may have about the demo that I'm doing, and then she will wait for me to have a little bit of a break, and she'll ask your question for you. So at any time, if I say something confusing, or if you're unclear about something, or if you want to know more about something, shoot her a message, and I'll be happy to answer your question, or even do some more research to figure out, a good answer for you. Because I love reading about this stuff. I do watch a lot of YouTube videos just to get that kind of direct approach to see exactly what people in their home are doing. But I have a lot of good food reference books from all over the world. And so I love reading about things and getting to the bottom of these, interesting culinary questions. All right, so from here, we're going to mix the 1 cup of sugar right in. And then we're going to do 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. If you like cinnamon a lot, you could do more. You could even do probably up to 2 teaspoons. I'm going to stick with 1. 1 gives it a good cinnamon flavor without being overpowering to me, but some people really like their spice. All right, so for this part, I'm going to pop on some gloves. You could use tongs or something else, but this is just easier for me at the moment, just to get all this evenly mixed. But you need to get the cinnamon and the sugar evenly mixed up with the apples here. Okay. What's funny is, like, I guess as an American or in the States here, people think of apple pie as like this very uniquely American thing. And it's really so far from the truth.
So Chef Jesse?
Yeah.
I wanna, first of all, I got a comment saying that they love your educational moment of those pictures and they appreciated that. You made this very interesting.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah, and second, I got a question from Matty asking, what is your favorite apple?
What is my favorite apple?
Yeah, normally when you make apple pie, what is your favorite apple to make it?
Well, okay, so yeah, if I'm gonna make like an American style apple pie, which uses sliced apples, not shredded apples like this, I would do a combination of apples. And a combination of apples would be great in this too. So the new varieties that are really good for eating fresh, like Honeycrisp, Fuji, these are really crunchy and just very sweet, right? So they really lack depth of flavor when they're cooked. So what's cool about Granny Smith is it really has that sour, acidic kind of backbone to it, which really lifts the flavor in on your palate. The acidity is what's going to, when it cooks down, that's what you're really going to taste, mixed with the sugar. So whenever I make an apple pie, I'm at least going to use Granny Smith, and then I would, if you can find Macintosh, that'd be a great addition. And then you can even do like Golden Delicious. You could mix that. That's more sweet. It's less acidic. But when you add the different apples, you're going to get different layers of flavors in there. And so having the Granny Smith as your backbone, you can add any apple really on top of that. But the softer apples, when they bake, they're going to have a different texture. Like the Honeycrisp apples, when they bake, they're just not going to soften up to the point of, having that like tenderness that you really want in an apple pie. Actually, Yang, I was reading about apples, and there's a couple varieties of soft apples in China that have been cultivated for a couple thousand years at least, that are specifically for desserts. And they're these soft kind of apples that bake, and they're just really tender and delicious. And it was pretty interesting. I love to try some of these different apples, but it's the one thing, now when they produce and hybridize these fruits and vegetables, their considerations are not necessarily flavor and texture. They're for transport and cold storage and visual appeal, right? So oftentimes flavor and texture, you'll lose those components, or maybe aroma. Like I imagine all these different varieties of apples are going to have all these different kind of aromas to them as well, and all these different kind of sense appealing attributes that you know, when you commercialize something and you make a ton of it, you're just going to lose that. But the best we can do is Granny Smith combined with something else for apple pie.
So actually the taste is almost like based on your own preference. Like you want a sour, more sour, or more sugary or something, right?
Yeah, more sour for me.
Yeah. That's why I got a question like, why do you choose the sour apple?
Right. All right, so here we go. The phyllo, these boxes come with 2 packs. And for 2 pounds of apples, you can use 1 pack. And once it's thawed out, it should gently and easily unfold. But you still have to be pretty careful with it. Okay. All right, so you want to have a nice workspace to assemble the pastry. And you want to gather all of your other ingredients. So I got my shredded apple with the sugar and the cinnamon. I've got my phyllo, and then I also have my breadcrumbs. Okay. And then my pan as well. Let's get the pan over here. All right, so we're going to start with 3 sheets. Now, there are a bunch of different techniques on how to assemble this. And it seems like it somewhat matters about what region you're in, but I think it also matters just like personal taste and what you want. If you want a very crispy one, if you like it to be crispy on the outside but really tender on the sides, if you like a lot of apple in the middle, you know. So I'm going to show you a few different ways to put it together. The videos on YouTube that I watched, their phyllo dough was about twice as large as this. And so our rolls are going to be a little bit more thin. But what we could also do is we could double layer them and then roll it all together. So we'll try a couple different things. For this one, we're just going to take the 3 sheets and we're going to start from here. And we're going to get some apple, and we're just going to spread the apple in little clumps over the whole sheet. And this was the most common version I saw for the Serbian style. So just the name, Pita sa Jabukama, Pita, I mean, is the pie part. And so it's funny that that also transcends different languages. If you think of some Greek food, you can think of like spanakopita, right? And so that's spinach pie. It's obviously a little bit different and arranged differently, but it's still pita is pie in several languages from the region, sweet or savory. All right, so we've got our apple spread out here. Then I'm going to do 1 tablespoon of breadcrumbs. I'm just going to sprinkle that over top the apple, just like 1 good heaping tablespoon. Then we're going to take our phyllo, and we are going to loosely, we don't have to tightly pack this or anything, we're just kind of loosely rolling this up. Okay. And then from here, I'm going to put it onto our sheet pan. Okay, so that was one way that's just very straightforward and simple. And we're going to brush the oil on top of that oil water mixture on top before we bake it. So that's one way. Here's another one. Here, let's do this one. We're going to do this one long ways here. And so this is a different version that I've seen. And this is more, seems to me more like the strudels, like the Bavarian style strudels, is where they'll have a section of the apple that's all together with a lot of pastry around it. Okay. All right, so, and this one rolls, and then you can fold the corners in too. And so that'll kind of lock the juices in somewhat here. If a little juice gets on the side here, that's okay. Okay, so this is more like a packet. All right, we'll put that one right there. Let's clean this. Okay, now we're gonna bring our oil over. All these, none of these are like the right or wrong way to do it. They all are just slight variations that are gonna alter how crispy the outside is, how tender the inside is, and the appearance of it when you're serving it. So if you want a really crispy one, this is the way to do it. You do one sheet at a time, and you get a little bit of that oil water mixture, and you just sprinkle a little bit around with your brush. And then you're gonna add your sheets on after.
Someone's asking about the breadcrumbs and the purpose of them.
Okay, so the breadcrumbs are going to absorb the liquid from the apple as it bakes and releases more liquid, because the sugar that's mixed in with that shredded apple, I mean, it's just sucking the juice out of the apple right now. You can see how juicy it's gotten. It's just apple juice coming right out. And so that's going to continue. And so that breadcrumbs are going to help soak up some of that juice. Now, you know, not every video and not every recipe I've seen uses breadcrumbs. It's not 100% necessary, but it's going to give you more of a cohesive kind of apple, you know, texture filling in there. But, you know, you can kind of experiment and mess around with these different slight variations to see what, you know, your favorite is, because there's really no, you know, right or wrong way to do it here. All right, so this one, my personal favorite is to spread it all out like this. I really like the pastry rolled up on the inside. It gives the apples a lot of structure, and instead of oil, the pastry is soaking up a lot of that apple juice too, and so it kind of becomes more like a noodle. It's not like a thick noodle, but it's like a very thin noodle that's kind of wrapped up on the inside, and it's just got a really nice, slightly chewy texture. I just really love it. It's delicious.
Jesse, I got a question asking that it's like now is the time the apple pie, or is there any specific time that people tend to enjoy the apple pie most?
Right, so yeah, apple pie is a great fall and winter dessert. Apple season in the Northern Hemisphere is, you know, it's our fall, so we just, you know, it's our winter now. So these apples are relatively fresh, but I mean, you know, the fresher the better. So, you know, what apples start getting harvested in like October or something like that, you know? And so, but this is a great time to have apple pie, apple strudel. Summertime, you know, you have so many good fruits in the summer that, oh yeah. So see how this one got a little more wet? I actually put a little more filling in this one too, but you can see through because I put the oil between the layers. So you can see through that a little bit. I'll put this down. There we go. And that's fine. It's a little more delicate once it kind of saturates like that. So I'm going to do a couple more. Maybe we could try a double one. And try a double one? Yeah, okay. Let's do a big one. Because yeah, so Austrian and German Streusel are usually very large pastries, and the Serbian ones are small. So the Austrian ones, and we've done this actually with the German language club, where we've made the phyllo dough from scratch, and you stretch the whole dough out over top the whole table. And then we made the apple strudel from scratch with them, and you do the filling on one side and you roll the whole thing up, and then you roll it all around on a sheet pan, and it's just amazing. But then when it comes out of the oven, you slice it into thin strips. You don't get, you're not going to get like these long tubular pieces. You're going to get like thin strips with a bunch of apple in the middle. So it's just a little bit different. All right, so here we go. We're going to do, this one's going to have to cook a little bit longer, probably. than the others, but that's all right. Honestly, this is for the results of this and how delicious it is, and it's just such a simple, awesome recipe. It's way better than American apple pie in my opinion, and it's a lot easier. This is something I know all of y'all can make at home.
Yeah, Kristen is commenting in the box saying that actually we can get some delicious and fresh apples at farmers market if it's in the season.
Right. Let me wash my hands real quick. Okay, so let's get a little breadcrumbs.
Any idea where are those farmers market that we can get some fresh veggies?
Well, they're definitely all around town. At this point, I don't know if they've changed much, but there used to be one on Wednesdays at Lake Ella. And then there was one up in Market Square on Saturdays. You know, this technique can be used with all types of fruit too. So you can do this with cherries. You can do this with, I saw versions with pumpkin, like a pumpkin pie kind of thing. Yeah, I saw this also. I really was like, for us down here, like blueberries would be awesome, or because our blueberry season is great here, strawberries, and even peaches. I was like, this would be a super fun peach pie to make. All right, so I'm just gently rolling this up. This is gonna be a big one. All right. All right, here we go. All right, so we've got 4 different ones here. This was our packet that we made. This one was the one that got oil in all layers. This is our kind of just normal one. This was our double one. So before we bake it, we're going to take our oil water mixture. You can see how that oil and water, it's just 1/4 cup each, and how you boil it together, and it's going to emulsify slightly. So it's, when you dip this, you're not just getting oil, you're getting a little oil and water. And you're just going to brush these pretty well. We don't want to soak it. We just want to get it moist. And then the apple juice is going to come out of the end there, and it'll concentrate as it bakes there. A little apple syrup. Okay. So if you like smaller ones too, you can slice these before you bake them. My practice ones yesterday, I sliced into about 4 to 6 inch long slices, and they come out really, really well. And then they're kind of more like a little dessert finger food. All right, so it's gonna go in a 350 oven for 15 to 20 minutes. You want them to be nice and brown. And then here's some that I made yesterday. Move this. Okay. So let's see. These ones I oiled up each side so you can see where they're crispy. You can hear it. A little bit crispy, but really tender, and you can see the layers of apple and then pastry that are in there. We can cut it too and see what, get a good look at it. So you get that nice crispy outside, and then the tender kind of noodle and apple filling on the inside, and it's just really delicious. I love these. That's okay. So once it's cooled, you can powder sugar them, and the powdered sugar is kind of important because the dough itself, the phyllo dough itself, is not sweet at all. So you want to have a little kind of initial sweetness that you bite into with that powdered sugar. It makes it look nice, but it also really does, you know, make it a real dessert. All right, so oops. Put a couple on the plate here. Kevin tried these out for me yesterday. He got his seal of approval. I think he had like 3 of them. So here's a couple. Let's get a couple more here. Any other questions out there? Anybody else? Anybody think they could make these at home, or are you going to give it a shot?
Well, same old. They are all saying that you made them hungry, but they cannot eat it. So,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
and we got comments saying they're gonna try to make it at home. Thank you, Jesse.
Yeah, it's really pretty inexpensive too, and you get a lot out of it. You're gonna get, I think the apples, are about $2 a pound, 2 pounds, and then the box of phyllo is about $4 or $5. And I mean, other than that, it's really pretty inexpensive. All right, here's a couple here. All right, so here is the little plate here, and I think Laura's looking like she wants to try one. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. It's our first one back here. We're gonna get going. This semester, we're gonna get some great co-hosts. Keep coming back and checking us out, and we will hopefully keep providing some entertainment for you.
Thank you.
Have fun in the breakout rooms.
Thank you, Jesse. And if you have any last questions for Jesse,